Hi, I'm Oliver, and this is Deep Cuts, a channel dedicated to music for lovers of music. Today I'm going to review the new album from Danny Brown, Atrocity Exhibition. This is actually Danny's first release through the Warp label, which is a label that started in Britain in 1989 at the height of the acid house movement, and to date has housed artists such as Aphex Twin, Ortega, Boards of Canada, Flying Lotus. There's a lot of brilliant artists that have come out of this label. Probably one of my favourite labels, to be honest, with some of those fantastic artists on their roster. I'd be really excited to hear what Danny has to offer coming from this label now. He moved from Fool's Gold, citing the fact that he wanted to be more creative, and he found the British scene to be something that was very inspirational to him. Not to mention the fact that one of the reasons apparently was that Fool's Gold held back his last record, Old, to the point that Danny had actually threatened to self-release it and leak it himself. So there was obviously some differences there and some differences of opinion. So he's moved over to Warp. Obviously he's a little bit happier now. I really like Danny Brown. He is a conscious rapper with a distinctive and characterful voice. He clearly has a point to prove, and he wears his influences on his sleeve. His work is undeniably very unique and, to me, exciting. However, I feel like where XXX and Old are solid pieces of work, they hint to the level of artistic creativity that Danny is capable of, and he's just waiting to release that piece of work that really proves that. And in my opinion, Atrocity Exhibition is that piece of work. What really hit me, even on a first listen, was the intricacy and the seemingly laboured production. You can hear the amount of work that's gone into crafting each track on this record. You have very interesting live instrumentation, esoteric percussion techniques, synthesizers, sampling used in places as well, and you can really hear the tiny efforts that have gone to each track to build them up to what they are. What's interesting at a macro level, although each piece has obviously been picked specifically to create that style and that tone, at a macro level it inspires chaos. It's a chaotic record, and that's what it means. Danny Brown's a chaotic artist, so it really fits. But production-wise and in terms of Danny's lyricism and his tone and his style, it all works together to create a cohesion of chaos, if that's a bit of an oxymoron, I don't know. It's important to mention Paul White, the producer and longtime collaborator with Danny. He produced 10 of the 15 tracks on Atrocity Exhibition. His production style is very inspired and eclectic, and somehow perfectly complements Danny's verses. I feel like this kind of raw and expressive production technique and style would probably drown out a lesser rapper. As most of you probably know, the record is named after Joy Division's opening track of their record, Closer, and Danny said that Joy Division has inspired the sound of this record alongside artists like the Talking Heads, Bjork, and also System of a Down. And I feel like you can hear those influences. You can hear a post-punk experimental style pervading the record. You can hear it in the shifting trebly bass pattern of track Rolling Stone, in the anachronistic synth lines on Tell Me What I Don't Know, on that loose opening downward spiral with the unanchored percussion and pedal guitar effects underneath Danny's stream of consciousness talking about his drug abuse and fears of loneliness. Whilst Atrocity Exhibition doesn't specifically sound like a Joy Division or a Talking Heads record, he shares a spirit and a style of those artists because he's taking risks and experimenting. He's not afraid of stepping outside of a comfort zone and a perceived sound that we all recognize. He's doing something completely different, and that's something that's very difficult to find in the hip-hop heavyweights of 2016. According to the man himself, his XXX record had the core concept of trying to make it in the music business, trying to attain what he's reaching for. Now this album picks right off where XXX left off, so now he's reached that, he's reached a level that he's happy with, but is that enough? And does that erase the troubles that he's gone through to get there? That's the core loose concept that goes throughout this record. I have to go back to Downward Spiral for a second. Jesus Christ, that is a dark fucking opening track. Just listen to some of the lyrics in the second verse. Everybody say you got a lot to be proud of. Been high this whole time, don't realise what I done. Cause when I'm alone, feel like no one care. Isolate myself and don't go nowhere. Smoking blunt after blunt till my eyes start burning. Hennessy straight got my chest like a furnace. Drowning frustrations in an ocean of sin. Thinking irrational, I have no emotions. Cold, cold world, some might say. Freezing on the snow, brain feel a bit frostbit. Doesn't quite sound the same in the British accent, does it? That darkness is a key component that's carried throughout the record, both instrumentally and lyrically. However, it's a darkness that's playful. It's not all doom and gloom. There is a playfulness both in Danny's turn of phrases as well as the instrumentation. The second track, Tell Me What I Don't Know, has these analog synths suffusing the atmosphere alongside these guitar lines, and oddly enough, a rhythmic whistle part, which almost is like a kick-off, is like a whistle blowing in a football match to the kick-off for the drum beat, which comes galloping in such an energetic way. Also to point out on this track, Danny's vocal delivery is very monotone. It's not the same kind of high-pitched squawk that he goes with on most of the other tracks. It's got a completely different timbre, which is interesting. It's a different delivery from him, which does add more diversity to the album, I think, and it does fit the production very well on this track. Danny said in a recent interview that he didn't really want to pile features onto this record. He found it a little bit desperate sometimes when artists plug features on every track to try and push their fan base out as far as they possibly can. So what he does is he gets all those features out of the way on one track, really dope. He has Ab-Soul, Kendrick Lamar, and Earl Sweatshirt trading verses together. I think originally it was going to be Run the Jewels and Kendrick Lamar, but unfortunately Run the Jewels have been busy in the studio mixing album 3. So I'm excited for that, as a pointless side note there. It probably signifies the quality of this record that this track is my least favourite on the album. The verses being traded feel a little bit laboured, it's quite slow, and for me it drops the frenetic, frenzied quality of the walloping, bizarre cuts that Danny's been on up to this point. That unique sound, it just drops off for a little bit when we hit this track, I feel. Not that it's a bad song, it's just more typical of what you'd expect in hip-hop albums of 2016. A lot of features, an interesting beat, but nothing altogether unique in any way, really. Never mind, because next track, Lost, throws you right back into it with a trip-hop beat and vocal samples that, to be honest, don't sound a world away from early Portishead. Ain't It Funny is probably my favourite track on the record. It's a frenetic, thumping 4 to the floor with blaring dissonant horns and this alto sax that's just pushing out these offbeat flat notes across Danny's verses. It's a method of confusion. It connotes confusion throughout, but it never loses like this disco feeling. A very infectious track. It's so brilliant the way this is constructed from start to finish. Pneumonia was the first single released for the album, and for me it stands out as a highlight of the record itself. Abrasive percussion is order of the day for this track, with Danny being menacingly reserved on the verses for this track alongside very simplistic guitar and bass lines, and then switching to being this corrosive, brutal style of vocal delivery alongside this really brilliant thwacking polyrhythmic drum part, this snare that just thwacks away on the offbeat. What it does is it never resolves itself by going back onto the onbeat, and it creates a real brilliant tension and suspense throughout the track, because you've just got Danny going on this really great rhythm and on this great rhythm, and then you've got this snare going bap 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 bap, which probably sounds like I'm going fucking mental without the track playing. Just listen to it. It goes across the beat in a polyrhythmic fashion, which, like I'm saying, there's that suspense to it. It's this tension because it doesn't resolve. You want it naturally to resolve because we're used to listening to things on the beat, and it doesn't do that. And that's just a brilliant production flourish on behalf of Paul White and Danny. It's just great. This is that fantastic sense of the production complementing Danny's vocals so well. On the track White Lines, he has this, it's almost like he's being electrocuted, this rising vocal delivery that goes kind of up and then back down again, and it's never resting. And underneath that you have almost, I think it's like a flute part or something. I can't quite catch it with my ear. If you guys can work out what it is, just let me know. It sounds like a flute, or it's some sort of wind instrument, I think, unless it's a synth or something. But what it's doing is it's paralleling exactly what Danny's doing. It's mirroring the same sounds, like da 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 da, and that's such a great way of mirroring what the vocalist is doing, not just serving as a background to the rapping, but being part of that insanity, that neuroticism, that tension. Really, really clever. the more I listen to this, the more I'm leaning towards the fact that this is not only a brilliantly intelligent, interesting, experimental record, but it's also an important record. It's important for 2016. This is an artist that's taking risks. He's not afraid. He's not following the money. He's not doing what a lot of his hip-hop contemporaries are doing, which is, you know, doing the same trap sounds, creating tons of features across everybody and basically getting as much of that as possible. He's not doing that. He's really respecting his inspirations, he's crafting something very different, and he's creating something that sounds like nothing else. This album will go down, I think, as being a very important record of this year. It's really something special. I'm going to give this album a 9. Really, really great. Go out and listen to it if you haven't. And you know what, if you don't listen to hip-hop very often, I implore you to still listen to this record. If you have prejudices about hip-hop and you don't like hip-hop, try and ignore that and just go and listen to this album, because there'll be things you can appreciate even if you don't like hip-hop as a genre in itself. There'll be so many things that you'll be able to appreciate out of this record. It's really something special. I know I said that with my last review was Skeleton Tree, which I've given a 10. It's just a bloody great month for music, basically. So 2 great records there to go out and check. But make sure you don't go and sit back on Atrocity Exhibition. Please go and listen to it, because I really, really do recommend it. One of the best of the year so far, definitely. So what were your thoughts on the record? I'd really like to know, so please comment in the comment section below. Let me know what your thoughts are on it. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, tell a friend about the channel. I know there's a lot of new people now. I think we just reached 2,500 subscribers, which just blows my mind in just over 3 months of doing this. So hello and thank you to all you new people that are watching, and thank you to all you people that have been there since the beginning. Lots more content on the way. Let me know if you've got any suggestions of stuff you'd like to see. I'll be back next week. Thanks a lot.